Evelyn.
Good. Thank you so much, our Zoom Master and Pathways Chair, Maurice Laureano, as well as Area 24 Director. Maurice wears so many hats. Thank you so much for that wonderful information and introduction. Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here among so many future DTMs. Or maybe this is going to be your second, third, fourth DTM. Whatever, we are about to be enriched by our presenter, Sue Brooks. Sue has been a Toastmaster since 2000, has completed 7 paths and attained 2 DTM awards in the traditional program. She completed the requirements for her Pathways DTM this very month. She serves as Vice President of Membership in Podcast Pioneers in District 46 and is a member of other clubs in neighboring districts. She serves as a Pathways Guide. She served as a Pathways Guide in 2018 when our region first started the program, and enjoys sharing her Pathways expertise. In addition, she's a member of the District 46 Public Relations team. Without any further ado, let's give Sue Brooks, our presenter, a great round of applause as she tells us how to learn the steps to become a distinguished Toastmaster. Sue, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome, Evelyn. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters. I'm so delighted to be here tonight to share with you beginner yoga. Oh, no, that's up the street. Joke. We're going to have a great time tonight. As Maurice had said, we will have an opportunity for questions, and please type them in the chat as the chat will be monitored. I'll also be asking you certain questions throughout, and please type your questions in the chat or raise your hand based on the prompt. Let's get started. It all starts with a vision. How many of you want to become a DTM? I should see all your hands up. All right, well, there you go. In my case, my friend Margarita Estrada, a past public relations manager, said, put it right in the middle of your vision board. So I did. In order to attain your DTM, there are several requirements. So I'm going to go through them right now briefly as an overview. You need to complete 2 learning paths, serve as a club officer for 12 months, serve as a club mentor or coach. And the word mentor has different meanings. Mentor to a person is different than mentoring a new club that just got started. And we can go over that in detail later. You also need to serve in a role of either a club sponsor or conduct a Speechcraft or conduct a youth leadership. So pick one of those 3 for one of those requirements. And the last, serve as a district officer for 1 year. Follow that up with complete the DTM project. Now, be advised, you don't have to do them in that order, and you can do some of those simultaneously. We'll get to more of that a little later on in our discussion. Here's what we're going to learn tonight. You're going to use the DTM application as a checklist to stay on track towards your goals. How many of you have goals? Okay. And how many of you actually use the DTM application as a checklist right now? Excellent. That keeps me on track. And I'll also show you things that you should know about the application that are nowhere in your profile. I'm going to help you identify resources and district leaders to help make your vision a reality. We will have time for questions and answers, so please put your questions in the chat. And this presentation deck will be shared in the chat and the recording of the session will be made available. This way, you don't have to bother taking notes all night, and you can share this with other people in your clubs who may not have been able to join us tonight. Does that sound good? In terms of serving as a club officer, the club officer elections take place in May for the Toastmaster year beginning on July 1st. Most appointments are for a full year. There are some clubs that meet weekly and have the opportunity to have officer elections twice a year. So please review the requirements for your role in the club leadership handbook. And the 7 officer roles are president, vice president education, vice president membership, vice president public relations, secretary, treasurer, and sergeant at arms. I've placed the URL at the bottom of the screen. So if you are not familiar with this and haven't served as a club officer yet, you can download your copy of the club leadership handbook. Now's a really good time to start thinking about who your successor is going to be if you are currently an officer, or if you're not an officer, talk to the person who currently has that role and find out a little bit more about the job. Training takes place twice a year, once in the summer and once in the winter. During the summer, you learn about how to do your job, and in the winter, you have an opportunity to network with your peers, find out what's going well, and some of the challenges you've encountered. Planning to serve as a district officer. This one's really important in terms of timing. Right now, in District 46, please contact Jan-Paul Rudbol or Evelyn Marrero to learn about the appointed positions and information about the application process. Please be aware that the names of the people will differ from district to district. I know for a fact that we have friends here from districts 45, 119, 83, 38, and probably more if I haven't met you yet. So the person will be the current district director or the person who's the club growth director now, for you to get more information about the process. Now, in District 46, until someone is elected as district director, please contact our current district director, Jan-Paul Rudbol. Once the election is completed on, in this case, in this district, May 7th, 2022, and the new district director is selected, then you can contact the elected officer directly. Here's an image of the district leadership handbook. So you're going to need to become familiar with that before you start your new role on July 1st. On the next slide, I'll show you where you can obtain it. Planning to serve as a district officer, please contact the nominations chair to apply for an elected position and information about the application process for the following Toastmaster year. The application process is closed for this year. However, please note that there's still the opportunity to, as they say in quotes, run from the floor, which is open until a week before the district council meeting. And please contact Patricia Kidwingira now for opportunities for 2022-23. Again, Patricia Kidwingira is the immediate past district director, so please contact the person who had that role last year in your district if you are in a district other than 46. And again, more information about planning to serve as a district officer, talk to people who currently have held the position to get an understanding of what the job involves. And in addition to reading about it in, yes, the district leadership handbook. Each January, District 46 holds a leadership symposium for you to learn about leadership roles and opportunities. And lastly, I've placed the URL so you can get that district leadership handbook from the Toastmasters International website as a download. And again, if there's any questions, please place them in the chat. Evelyn and Maurice will be monitoring that, and I'll be happy to go through the questions a little later on in the presentation. The appointed district leadership roles. You have your area directors. The number of area directors will vary by the size of your district. You have your district administration manager, your district finance manager, and your district public relations manager. And that is true for District 46. Now, of course, there's the fine print. There's always has to be mouse type and fine print. Please note, in some districts, other than District 46, area directors and the district public relations manager are elected positions. It varies from district to district. The district leader roles that are elected include your division directors. There are multiple. And again, that depends on the size of the district. Your club growth director, program quality director, and district director. Everybody works together as a team to make the district wonderful. Next up, we want to talk a little bit about serving as a club sponsor, mentor, or coach. Please contact Club Growth Director Osama Tawi if you would like to serve in one of these roles. Timing is really important here. New club sponsors help new clubs through the charter process. That's new clubs that don't exist yet. They help get the required 20+ members. They get all the paperwork, submit the forms, collect the fees. And once it's complete, it will appear on your profile, and it will also appear on Toastmaster International dashboards. New club mentors help newly chartered clubs learn best practices and work towards success for a minimum of 6 months after the club charters. Now, as a new club mentor, you don't have to be a member of the club, but I often find people I talk to want to join the club to help it become successful and to continue to impart their knowledge, and they might also help towards the membership goals. Again, a new club mentor helps a club that was just chartered. A new club mentor is different than a person helping another person with their educational process and progress, helping them with pathways, helping them learn to become better speakers and leaders. If you have any questions about the difference between a new club mentor or being a mentor to a person, we can talk about that more later. And last, club coaches help struggling clubs with membership building and more. Those people play a very important pivotal role in the success of a club. And to the best of my knowledge, there is always a need for club coaches. I know several people who share that passion for helping struggling clubs. And it's really important to take that on if you have a desire to help a struggling club. To get an appointment to be a club coach, you cannot currently be a member of that club. They want fresh ideas and expertise. Once you're appointed as a club coach, you may join the club, but the timing is critical. Again, we can discuss more of that later. And the person you would speak to here in District 46 is Osama Tawi. And in other districts, it would be the club growth director. And I know there's several people supporting the effort of club coaches in various districts as well. Learn about Speechcraft. This is one of the options that you have. I just completed a Speechcraft with a partner, and it was a very rewarding experience. Let me tell you, Speechcraft introduces non-Toastmasters to the Toastmasters program, and we all want that to happen. Conducting a Speechcraft program is an excellent membership building opportunity for your club. And that works equally well with community clubs, corporate clubs, and specialty clubs. To learn more about the Speechcraft program in District 46, you can contact Alyssa Lieu and the entire Speechcraft committee using this address. And to learn more about Speechcraft in general, you can use the URL at the bottom of your screen. This is an example of the portal of what Speechcraft looks like once you decide to conduct a Speechcraft program. It will look more generic, but this happens to be mine because I just concluded one. Another optional leadership opportunity for you is to conduct a youth leadership program. In District 46, you may contact Sumesh Jablani or Genevieve Udacuri and learn more. You can connect with them using the links below. And did you know both Sumesh and Genevieve were featured guests on Transformational Pathways, the podcast for District 46. If you haven't listened to it, I encourage you to do so to learn more about their role in Speechcraft and listen to other wonderful leaders with their podcasts in the series. Again, if you have any questions, you may put your questions in the chat and we'll get to them very shortly. Everybody's probably wondering about that DTM project. What's the difference between a DTM project and a HPL project? Do I have to do both? You may contact Toastmasters International when you have completed one complete path in Pathways, of course, plus level 3 of your second path to request that the DTM project be made available in your curriculum, in your Basecamp portal. In other words, it doesn't just magically appear. So to get your DTM project underway and accomplished, you need to plan and complete a project that benefits an organization. That's different than the exact wording in a high-performance leadership project. And a member can request this from the Education Services team by phone, there's the number, or by email, there's the email address. And the DTM project is a standalone project. You will need to develop a team. You will need to read through all the requirements. It's going to be something that should challenge you. But they will tell you when you get your project, oh, just give us about maybe a few hours and you might see it in your portal at that point. Guess what? Mine appeared in less than 10 minutes. And I think they say that just to make sure they have enough time to upload it to your Pathways portal in Basecamp. I was really surprised it appeared so quickly. But again, you must call to request it. This is the part that I want you to pay special attention to, and that is your DTM application. I've shown it to you here. It's a two-sided application, and we will go into the details of the different sections. Over on the right is where you will find a lot of information that you can use to complete your application once you've completed the components. You can access it through your profile, which is over here. This one's me. You go to Home, My Toastmasters, and Profile. Of course, you have to log in to get to this point. But it's important you know where to find these elements. Doing a deep dive. The first part of your application Name, address, city, you probably know all that, right? You might need to look up your member number. And again, that is on your profile. Path completion. Please make note of when you completed each path. You have to do 2 for each DTM. So you have to say the name of the path and the date you completed it. And then afterwards is the Distinguished Toastmaster project. Let me draw your attention to this section, which is on your profile. You will see the education awards, club support history, membership history, offices held, and more. But what's important about the education section here is it shows my recent education completion. I finished a path that I did with clubs in District 83, and I finished a path that I did for a club here in District 46, and it goes on and on. But this is a pop out of what you need to know for the education awards. It says that here, and it says education program once you open it up. Moving along, offices held. This part is important because it shows you the club officer roles plus your district officer roles. You could see here, I was a public relations manager 1 year. A few years before that, I served as the district secretary, and it'll show you the dates that you completed this. You will need that information to plug into this section. Please be aware. There are two things that are not in your profile. So please make a note of that and plug them into your application as soon as you can. And those 2 important things are helped prepare a club success plan for my club, the month and the year. That's typically done towards the beginning of the Toastmaster year in July, perhaps in August. Excuse me. That helps set your club up for success. You will do that with the other club officers. Please make note of the date you do that because that doesn't appear anywhere in your profile. So when you do it, just make a note of it here and remember to save your file. The second thing that does not appear anywhere in your profile is this: attended officer training month, year. Typically, we have summer training, June, July, and August. Typically, we will have winter training, November, December, and January, concluding in February. Please make a note of the date that you attended because, again, that doesn't appear in your profile. And if you're only serving as an officer once, which you may do, and that's perfectly acceptable, then by the time you're getting ready to achieve your DTM, you might have forgotten. Any questions about this part so far? If you do have questions, we can put them in the chat. I'd be more than happy to answer them. Moving on to the rest of the application, this will show your club support history, and that is when you served as a club sponsor, mentor, or coach. Now here it's broken up in this DTM application, it's broken up into 2 areas. If you served as a club mentor or a club coach, again, you don't have to do both. You may, but you don't have to. For one DTM application, you need to know the club name, club number, and the date it was chartered. If it were a club mentor, club coach, you need to have the appointment completion date as well. In the club support history, you could see during various times, I served as in all 3 roles. I served as a mentor, I served as a sponsor, and I served as a coach. Again, I brought this screen up for club support history because for this DTM, you need to be either a sponsor or, as we said before, conduct a Speechcraft or a youth leadership. So you need to have those dates. Club support history will show, again, the date you were a sponsor, if you chose to do that, and the information for serving in a youth leadership or a Speechcraft would appear in a different place. Next, you'll have the club officer verify that you didn't indeed complete these. And again, you may not complete your own application. And the last part is an employer letter. What I found was interesting was that you need to contact your employer for a request that it is okay to share their contact information. I know we've talked about a lot recently. Again, if you have questions, put them in the chat and Evelyn will read them off to me in a brief amount of time. When we talk about timing for the long-range appointments and projects, I'm sure you all have questions. Do I have to go in a specific order? The answer is no. Do I have to do my DTM project after I finish both my paths? The answer is no. Should I do everything all at once? Most definitely no. I believe everybody has a life outside of Toastmasters. People like to read, they like to sleep, they like to spend time with their family, they like to do yoga, they might like to walk. I think some people have jobs. I know some people are retired, but don't try to take on everything all at once. And definitely talk to your mentors, talk to your friends, talk to other officers about what you should do together. If you're doing a DTM project, I don't recommend that you do it at the same time you're doing a high performance leadership if your path requires it. You might want to spend different times doing those. There's lots of opportunities to help you and your club be successful, but you don't want to take on too much all at once and then fail miserably. I'm not saying you don't want to challenge yourself, but be realistic. My needs might be different from somebody who has a 10-year-old child or cares for an elderly parent. Maybe you spend an awful lot of time commuting. I don't. So your needs might be different than someone else's. And for more information about your DTM, you can contact me after the session is over tonight. I have my email, and we did put this up in the deck, which will, this is the deck, you will have it made available to you. I've put a reference note here to get to the Distinguished Toastmaster program. And please continue to stay informed about any requirement adjustments made by Toastmasters International each year. And the information in this presentation is current as of today. You may know that if you are currently a leader, you get the leader letter. There's valuable information about things that are going on in different points in time during the year and what's coming up. Toastmaster Magazine's another good source for information, and regular emails. They will give you plenty of advance notice if they are changing policies. I received an email the other day and I saved it because I have to go through it again and again because they gave us a lot of information. Questions. Let's help make your vision a reality. I'm going to stop sharing so I could see all your faces, and we will have Evelyn read some of the questions that you have placed in the chat. Evelyn.
Thank you so much for that very, very informative presentation, Sue. And the slide deck that you put together has loads of information and tips, and it will be available to everyone. I know that question came up, but now I am going to ask you some of the questions that have come up. Some were sent to me directly, others were sent in the chat to everyone. So let me begin. Question number one. So We want to know, how long did it take you to complete your first DTM award?
Thank you so much, Evelyn and friends, for that question. My first DTM took 14 and a half years. That's right, 14 and a half. Do you know why? Because
Please.
it wasn't my goal. I didn't have a vision board. I didn't have a vision. I don't want to say care, but I didn't really know. I didn't know about a DTM. My very first club was a corporate club. We were all brand new Toastmasters except for one person. We came in, we did our meetings, we did our jobs, we did our speeches, but we didn't know what we didn't know. So the first one took me 14 and a half years. The second one I did in another year and a half. Thank you for the question, Evelyn.
Thank you so much. So that brings us to the question of, why should I want to complete a Distinguished Toastmaster Award?
That's a great question. It really comes from within you. It gives you tremendous opportunities to challenge yourself in leadership roles. It gives you excellent collaboration skills because nobody does this alone. It gives you a chance to improve your public speaking, whether you're doing it in a Zoom room or in person or in a hybrid meeting. It gives you great transferable skills that you can bring to your workplace, to your community organizations, and even gives you confidence if you have to speak up when you go to the doctor. And that's just a few. Thank you, Evelyn.
No, thank you. All of the steps make sense except the project. It is very loosely explained in all the resources, including a recent Toastmaster magazine article. Can you provide more information?
Yes. When I was eligible to receive the DTM project, I did call. TI was very helpful. And they, as I mentioned in the presentation, they did upload it and it appeared on my Basecamp portal within 10 minutes. I didn't know what to expect, and I wasn't sure what was different between a DTM project and a high performance leadership project. Was there a difference? What do I need to do? Who do I need to ask? My recommendation is, once you are eligible to receive it, get it in your Basecamp portal. You don't have to act on it right away, but once you open it up or launch it, read through it carefully and take notes, mental notes. You will need to go through the reading and the requirements and what's involved a few times before it sinks in. And we're all very bright people. There's a lot to digest. It's not like a summer beach read where you take your favorite romance novel or murder mystery and just keep flipping through it and you're done. No, you really have to pay attention. I recommend doing it in chunks and sections to make sense of it, and revisit it a few times before you even decide what you want to do. Once you decide, you may have a vision of what you want to do for the project. You may still be uncertain. I recommend you talk to your trusted advisors, your people, your mentor, your team, fellow club officers. Talk to somebody who's completed a DTM project. Ask them what they did. But one of the most important things about the project you select is make sure it has meaning to you. Make sure it doesn't have meaning to everybody else in the Zoom room, but make sure it's something you really want to do, because you're going to be doing it for a while.
Okay, we have lots of questions, so let's get moving on this. So, how long is the Speechcraft program, and is it necessary for my DTM?
Speechcraft is one of the choices. As I mentioned, you have a choice of 3 things for that one line item. You may do a Speechcraft or conduct a youth leadership program, or serve as a club sponsor. How long is a Speechcraft? As a Speechcraft coordinator, again, as I mentioned, it introduces non-Toastmasters to the Toastmaster program. They complete speeches, they do evaluations, they do table topics in a condensed format. Speechcraft sessions can be 4, 6, or 8 sessions long. It's up to you, and it's up to your fellow coordinators and your Speechcrafters. Typically, you will figure out in advance how many sessions you want. But if you're talking to people who you might work with, I have friends up in District 45 who are here tonight, who said, you know what? I know somebody, they want a Speechcraft, but we only want a certain number of sessions and we want to put it in the workplace and we know what their goals are. So you could set it up in advance, how many sessions you want, 4, 6, or 8 sessions. My Speechcraft was 1 session a week over 6 weeks. Other people have done it every 2 weeks, but it's up to you and the people that you are serving.
Thank you. Sue, next we're being asked about youth program. How many youths do you need and how long is the program?
That's a great question. I think the people should contact Sumesh Chablani and Genevieve Udikuri to get more specific details on the best ways to set up the programs. I know they're doing them totally online at this point, and they have people from all over. I do not know the minimum number, but Genevieve and Sumesh would know the minimum number. And how long are they?
Yes.
Again,
Yes.
I think it's typical based on what the youth leadership coordinators want. I believe they might be about 8 sessions. Something I do know is sometimes the young people, middle and high school age students, love it so much, they come back for more.
Absolutely. Yes, they do. So there was a question about the District 46 Transformational Podcast, how to find it. I believe our Zoom master put the information in the chat.
Yeah.
But if you want, yeah.
I'll add it again.
Okay, add it again. Now for the DTM.
And it's also accessible through the District 46 website. There's a link to it.
Thank you so much. For the DTM application, do you enter each time you attend club officer training or just the most recent?
Attend any of them. Anyone is good, but you can only select one per DTM application. For example, you don't have to put every training you went to or every officer role you had. Just one is fine per each DTM. For example, I'm currently serving as an officer in 3 clubs this season. I don't have to put all of them on the DTM application, just one, with the supporting information about when I went to training and when I took place in the club success plan. You could use those other officer roles for future DTMs if you would like.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, moving right along. Why is the club success plan important or required? What if the club doesn't want to complete one? What do you do?
Why is it important? It helps set your club up for success for the year. It gives you a platform to talk to the other officers so you're aligned on your goals. And it's not a one and done. You can do it at the beginning of the year, but then you can refer back to it if you have issues or questions or forget something. If for any reason there's a change of officers during the year, you can share that with the new people. It's important to have a record of your goals and what you set out for. If a club doesn't want to do it, I would find out why. I hope not all the officers want. And if you are an officer who wants to do it and none of your fellow officers want to do it, there seems to be a problem. And I might suggest contacting your area director for additional support.
Okay, thank you, Sue. Do you have to contact the employer first for privacy reasons on the DTM application? Do you think that's the reason why?
That's a great question. Piracy, I don't know, but it's probably a good idea that they know this is coming. But again, so they are aware that you're sending them some email, but again, it's privacy. I think that's the best thing to do. And of course, Toastmasters International will not sell their name.
This is so true. Okay. How does the Toastmaster International recognize if someone does DTM program more than once?
They send you an additional plaque.
Ooh, you have a collection of plaques. Isn't that
I
great?
have two. I haven't submitted as I stated earlier, and you gave the kind introduction, just tying up the loose ends for the finalizing of the Speechcraft, and have completed all the requirements. So then I have to submit my application for the Pathways DTM. I know that you get a plaque each time.
Can you be working and earning 2 DTMs at once? For example, complete 4 paths, complete 2 coach, serve as a multiple club executive roles, then be working on coaching 2 clubs and doing 2 separate 2 Speechcrafts, etc.
Yes, you may. As long as you have the time, the energy, and the enthusiasm, there's no reason why you couldn't. In fact, when somebody, Evelyn, you asked me earlier, how long did it take to get your first DTM? Well, 14.5 years. The second one happened 1.5 years later, but I didn't stop one and then start the next. The speeches and the other leadership things were happening in parallel, and they were all working towards the next DTM. Fortunately, my mentor saw in me that, why don't you do this and you'll get your second DTM? And I was like, what do you mean my second DTM? I just got my first one. And she believed in me. She still does. And enabled me to see, well, your second one isn't that far behind. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So I had all the additional speeches underway. So yes, it is absolutely possible to be working on multiple paths. It is possible to be attaining tenure for various officer roles, club officer roles, district officer roles. I know a person who's coaching 2 clubs at this point. Yes, the absolute answer is yes.
Thank you. With the new platform coming on board soon, will there be a delay in DTM processing from TI? Allow me to answer this one.
Please.
Folks, with Toastmasters International, we never know. So we hope there's no delay, but the reality is that we are not sure if there'll be delays, not to mention it's going to be a new program. So you can bet there'll be glitches. Expect them, anticipate them, because they're going to happen. So we can hope for the best, but prepare for the worst, because Murphy's Law will definitely come in handy when will come into play with the new program. But at least, we're moving forward with a platform that hopefully will work better with not only Pathways, but also with all the other, with the dashboard and all the other areas that we use the TI website for. Next, can you do an HPO project in lieu of a Speechcraft project for the DTM project? It's a lot of projects there.
No. The answer is no.
Quick answer. Thank you. All right, just to elaborate on that, the HPL project is different than the DTM project. The HPL project is a required project in some of the paths. The Speechcraft project is an option that you have in the DTM program. So I know it gets a little confusing at times. And then the DTM project is the final project that Toastmaster International sends to you for you to complete and acquire your Distinguished Toastmaster designation, educational award. Okay. Do you need, I think this is kind of the same, but I'm going to see if I read it. Do I need to complete an HPL project to get my DTM and pathways? Only if your DTM, if your project requires it. If my,
Only if your path requires it. Not
Right.
all paths have not all paths have HPL, high performance leadership projects. The first two paths I did not have high performance leadership projects. You can technically or actually get your DTM without ever having to do a high performance leadership project. You do have to do the DTM.
and the DTM project, just to be clear, the DTM project is not a high performance leadership project. It is different. Okay, how is it possible for an international club member not staying in the United States currently to serve as a district officer or club coach? Do you want me to take this one?
That would be fine. Yes, thank you, Evelyn.
All right. So whether you're an international club member or, and I'm not sure what you mean by international club members, because we're all members of Toastmasters International. So in essence, we're kind of all international members. But if you mean based in the United States as opposed to based outside of the United States, all of the clubs and all of the districts are pretty much governed by the same rules. And they all have basically the same form of operation. We all follow the same Toastmasters International Constitution and policies. There are a few variations in that, for instance, as Sue Brooks mentioned earlier, in District 46, we appoint the area directors. We also appoint the public relations manager. In some districts, those are all elected positions. So that's the variation. Can you serve anywhere? Sure, you can apply to serve. It is based on the criteria of that district, the criteria that the nominating committee has created for that district, whether or not you will be nominated or whether or not you can be elected. So it all depends on the district that you're applying to. And you can also pretty much be a club coach anywhere, as long as you're willing to put in the time and effort. I think any district will accept someone to coach a club.
Thank you very much for that, Evelyn. And I see that question came from Narayanan. Narayanan is a proud member of Podcast Pioneers here in District 46. Yay, Narayanan. And he's also a member of What Exit in District 83. Narayanan is calling in from India. So it's probably, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Narayanan, somewhere like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So thank you so much for calling in to get to this session.
Thank you. Absolutely. We get Toastmasters from all over the world visiting us.
And we're grateful for your membership. And if you want to serve as a district officer or in a club coach role, we can absolutely put you in touch with the people who will help get you those appointments. And again, as Evelyn said, it's more based on the timing. If you can connect with when the clubs are meeting, if it works with your work and family schedule. The other thing you can do is you could be, since you are a member of our clubs here in the US, it doesn't preclude you from visiting clubs in India or anywhere else and getting an appointment to work with clubs locally if the time schedule works better for you. But that's up to you to decide. But there's always a need for club coaches and there's always a need for district officers. Isn't that correct, Evelyn?
Absolutely, there is. And the next question that was asked was really answered by the question I just answered first. You can serve as a district officer and be 100% online, even if you live outside of the district. It would depend on what that district requirements are. So that being said, we're moving on to the next questions because now the questions are coming in fast and fierce, and we're gonna try to get to all of them. If you're a club coach or youth leader twice, will that be considered 1 or 2 events? And let's have a brief answer for this one, Sue.
If you've served twice, you can count it for 2 different DTMs.
Okay. Can you serve in a district office and a district, district from where you're a member of a club? Yes, you can. I think we just went over that. Someone wanted you to sum up all of the requirements. For a sponsor, you need one sponsor or Speechcraft, etc. Just do you have like a summary of everything that's needed somewhere that you can rattle off quickly, or should we just?
Yes, I have that. I see it's almost time, but yes, again, that was on one of the opening slides. Again, to summarize the requirements. And again, it's in the deck, which will be shared with you. Complete 2 learning paths. Serve as a club officer for 12 months. Serve as a club mentor or coach. Serve as a club sponsor or conduct a youth leadership or a Speechcraft. Serve as a district officer for 1 year and complete the DTM project. And that is on slide 3 in the deck that is going to be shared with you, or is shared with you.
Okay.
And
So
it's on the DTM application.
I think I have 2 more questions that we're going to get to real quickly. And of course, if you finished 1 path and level 3 in 2 additional paths and don't know which of those you will use for your DTM, do you have to decide before applying for the DTM project? For example, can you change your mind which second path you declare for DTM purposes?
You can place information on your application at whatever point you want before you submit it to Toastmasters International. Your paths are in your portal or your profile on Toastmasters International. You can always go back and see what you've completed. There is a record of what you've completed, so you can decide which ones to place on your application at any time and change your mind before you submit it.
And the $1,000,000 question, how can you manage all the demands, requirements with working a 9-to-5 and family? How do you, this question says, I would love to know how you managed your time.
Excellent question. Again, when I started out, I didn't know that I wanted to be a DTM. I went to 1 corporate club and that was it. I came home, I took care of my family. I commuted long distance. I don't have the same pressures now. I have a lot more time because I still work full time, but my son's grown now and I don't have a long commute. How do you manage it? You decide what's important. How many clubs are you in? How much time can you devote to a district leadership role? And as I stated earlier on in the program, you don't have to do it all at once. In fact, you'll probably be better if you do things spaced a little bit differently. You don't have to be on a roller coaster, fast moving. You can take your time. The other thing too is when you have a district officer role or even a club officer role, you don't have to do it all by yourself. You can get an assistant. And then you can groom that assistant to take over for you the following year. That's just a thought.
Sue Brooks, thank you so much for that. And I am just going to put in your email real quickly 1 more time into the chat so that if anyone else wants to send you any more questions or email you, they can do so. Sorry. The bad thing about Zoom is that if somebody types while you're typing, your message jumps somewhere else. So give me 1 second, folks.
Evelyn, as you're doing that, can I just ask if there are 2 or 3 people who might want to give an appreciation to the speaker, just kind of what they took out of this and something they might want to hear?
Does anyone have any comments? You can raise your hand.
Yes, I do.
Okay, Jackie, please.
I think it was excellent because all this time I didn't think I can get my DTM, but now I think I can. So I want to thank you for this learning experience, and you guys did a great job, and this was very informative. I will call you guys back
Jackie.
later.
Thank you, Jackie. I got your back. We're buddies. We can connect. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. You know that. Love you.
Yes.
Anyone else have any comments or questions or would like to make any comments to Sue? I don't see. Karen, are you raising your hand? I can't really see.
Oh,
Okay.
no, I was applauding.
Okay.
People are applauding. Wonderful. Thank you. I'm so glad.
right.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to present tonight. Evelyn, thank you so much for the leadership. Maurice, thank you so much for being our Zoom master and a great mentor and leading this education team. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. You were all wonderful. And our speaker, please let's all unmute and give her a great round of applause because she did an excellent job.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone, you will get the recording and you will also, the recording will be available and you will get the slides. So have a great night and good luck and much success to you, all of you. I expect to see a bunch of DTMs being filed before June this year.
All right, I'm gonna film mine out
Great
tonight.
evening, everyone. Good night.
Bye.
Night.
Bye.
Night, everyone.
Night.